G'day, Doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. It's the podcast episode 20. Didn't get one out last week, which I apologise for. Just been very busy doing my day job, which is good. Was supposed to do a special sort of feature with a good mate of mine called Ray, big Bulldog supporter, played a lot of league, coach league, and knows his stuff. You know that just from talking to him. Very well articulated as well, and a successful businessman. But he's going to talk about our affiliation that's just been established with St Paul's College in Auckland. So that will come and be discussed when we can align our schedules. So looking forward to doing that. And he'll tell us what to expect, hopefully, to see the development of some really big boppers with some big good skills. St Paul's is one of two major rugby league schools in New Zealand. So there's two big ones, and it's one of the two. So Sean Johnson come through there. So that's all you need to know about that. And we'll talk a lot more about it. But I'm not going to go on about it. Big Ray will tell us. And I'll be a very keen listener. Lots to talk about. So I'm going to have a look at our top 30, the way it stands based on reported signings, all the names that have been floated around, including re-signing players, upgrading players from the juniors, players that appear on zero tackle and all that sort of thing, and that I've seen earlier in the year through what was released in a bit of a leak, but of some juniors. And I don't know if they're going to progress into the top 30 or if they'll remain on development contracts. Now that the development contracts are paying a lot more, I think they've got up to 650 grand they can spend on them, and they can use those players if need be from round one, which is a good thing as well. So new rules that have come into play, I think they can have a maximum of 12 players on development contracts, and the maximum they can pay somebody on a development contract, I think, is 120,000. But I'm sure there's people who have all the ins and outs of that. That's just take it with a little bit with a grain of salt, but I'm pretty sure it's around those sort of marks. So we're going to talk about players that have left the club, players that have come to the club, and one I'm very, very happy about. And also some another story about Josh Addo-Carr and why I think it's stupid. Also going to talk about Mick Potter. It was announced a while ago that he is no longer going to be the assistant coaching role. He's moved to the New South Wales Cup head coach role. And I'll discuss a little bit about why I think that's a good idea or not a good idea. You'll have to tune in to listen to that if you care. We'll also have a little bit of a look at the Australia-New Zealand game coming up. And I want to talk about Critter at number 6 for Samoa as well. So forgive the background noise if you can hear that coming through. Got a new puppy in the house, a new Bulldog supporter, and she's very, very cute. And my daughter and my partner are very much in love with her little Roxy. She's a rock star. And I'll no doubt get her into some Bulldogs gear pretty shortly and bring her on to say hello. But let's get into it. Let's start. You'll see scrolling along the bottom there is the top 30. Now, the top 30, we've got 40 names. I've got 7 of those players potentially on development contracts. So they are the phone booth. Big bloke, got an ankle injury early, but he's as big as Nelson Asafa Solomona. Jordan Samrani, not sure if he'll go to top 30 yet. O'Neill, I think, is on development. Joey O'Neill, I think Rajab will be on development, but I'm not sure if he's allowed to be. Montgomery, I think, will be on development. Jack Todd on development, and maybe Damon Marshall on a development contract. All these players are signed up. Zach Montgomery, I thought, might be one in the top 30 as well. So we've potentially 7 development contracts there. I think there'll be changes to that. This is just me having a little play around. That leaves us with about 33 of the named players. I haven't included some players that have left that I think will be leaving the club. Players such as Declan Casey, I don't think there's a spot for him, unfortunately. Things just didn't go his way, but they might be. We'll have to see. and a couple others as well don't look like they'll be re-signed. But most players seem to have found a home at this point. I think Braden Burns is one that was leaving the club, but still not a named destination for him. But noticeably, Hull have picked up 3 of the Bulldogs from this year. So New Brown, Jaden Knockenball, and Frank Pele, which is really good for them. And I think they'll do well in England. New Brown playing well for New Zealand at the moment. So we'll look at the test teams. And just a shame it didn't work out for New and Canterbury Bankstown. Once he got that arm injury, I think they moved past him then, unfortunately. But I felt his form in New South Wales Cup was good. So we need to look who leaves the side. So I've got Josh Addo-Carr still in the side, obviously, despite reports. Bailey Biondiato, who was in and out, but apparently supposed to be there this year. Burton, Crichton, Raymond Fatala-Mariner, Hoffman, Sam Hughes, Katoga playing for Fiji, Kikau, King, Kiraz re-signs and extends, Knight, Marnie, Drew Hutchinson, Mann, both not official, Olawapu, Patolo, Perham, Preston, Ethan Kyward, Josh Curran, who was named today, Salmon, Jake Turpin continues to be named, Sexton, Skelton, Ryan Sutton, Blake Taff, Jackson Tupane, Blake Wilson, who was named today as well, and Bronson Cherry, Takiaho, and then you've got these development kids potentially on development contracts. And then we've got Curtis Moran and Harrison Edwards, who I'm not sure if they're going to be, I think they're good enough for NRL or as fringe NRL players. I'm not sure they're going to be on New South Wales Cup contracts again. I don't think they'd be on development contracts. I'd expect them to be part of our top 30. If not, they'd be going to another club, I'd suggest. But you never know. You just never know what's going on. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm getting a little bit edgy. I've been wanting to do this sort of discussion for a while. So who are the players who are likely to be leaving the club? Well, let's have a look. Rain Fatala-Mariner is expected to leave. Jackson Torpenay of what has happened. Expecting him to leave. Reece Hoffman sort of come in and out and never really played a game or looked like being part of the first grade squad. Made the extended squad a couple of times. I think he got 18th man as well. And now Ryan Sutton was mentioned last year as well, which I think they put water over that. So that's just a question mark. And all this stuff on Josh Addo-Carr, which is really starting to worry me. I cannot understand who a player who scored 28 tries from 38 matches has pretty much more highlights for the Bulldogs than the rest of our team combined over the last 5 years. And that's just in 38 games that he's played. So I don't know what the problem. There's a couple of special wingers out there that you need to pay a little bit more for. Brian To'o, Josh Addo-Carr. I'd be looking, and players that you look at like Stephen Crichton when he was coming through as a winger and a centre. They're looking at him as a potential fullback and put him on that sort of money. He was on 650 as at that young age. So they've got a huge rap on the guy, bigger than what we probably understand. But Addo-Carr on 500, with the amount of memberships this guy's brought, when he announced it, he said, "I'm coming to the Bulldogs, brah," on a little 30-second clip before it was even announced. He told some fans out in the street in Belmore. Like, he's brought hope to the club. His signing pretty much started it all. I know there was Kotrick and they brought Thompson and to give us a little bit of hope, but it was Addo-Carr, his signing, which really, when things started to fall into places, I know they haven't fallen into place, but we have still progressed from where we were. In many ways, I just don't think we are matching. Our performance doesn't match the hype or the expectation, and that's the problem, which makes it even harder to stomach when we've been down the doldrums for so long. There could be Hayes Perham could be one that's looked at as well. I'm not sure about Kai Ward. I'm not sure if he looks like a long-term prospect. And I say that with complete respect. He's a Wagga boy. That's where I'm from. I'd love to see any Wagga boy do well. So, yeah, not too sure what's going to happen with these players, but the first two named there, Rain Fatala-Mariner and Jackson Torpene, I'm not expecting them to play for the Bulldogs in 2024. And if they do, I'll be backing them as much as I say this with complete respect. Even though it is probably disrespectful, but it's just the nature of the game. We all talk about it. The media talks about it. It's a free game. People take pot shots at me all the time, like in my head and all that sort of stuff. I've got a nice filter on the camera, so tell me if the filter's working, because I've got a lot more wrinkles in real life. Trust me. All right. And just another shout out, I've got another podcast starting relating to racing. Now, if you're into racing, check it out. It's called Elite Punting. It's named after, we're a bunch of mates. It's not because we're elites or anything like that. It was just the name of we've got a club that we play this racing game, which we really enjoy. It's called Elite Force. So we called our punting group Elite Punting, and Gaines on it. Had the first podcast last week, went pretty well. And, one of our mates come on and tipped. He's the masked punter, loves horse racing, lives and breathes it. And he returned. People who followed his bets would have 283% return on Caulfield Cup Day, just from 5 bets. So that was pretty good. Anyway, if you don't like horse racing, just forget that I said all that and I won't talk about it again. We move on to the next part of this. What are the positions? So for our props, we've got Max King, Ryan Sutton, Takiaho, Sam Hughes, Chris Patolo, the Black Knight, and Liam Knight. On development, potentially, we've got Booth, Jack Todd. For our locks, Josh Curran, who was named today, Mann, Moran and Edwards can all play lock. Pretty sure Salmon could play there as well. Second row, kick out, Preston, Katoga, Montgomery, who I think will be on development contract. Salmon plays the edge, and Hoffman as well. Our hookers, Marnie, Turpin. Okay. There's a whole bunch of them. We go to our wings, Addo-Carr, Kiraz, Wilson, Skelton, Perham, and Blake Taff can play there. So some players are named twice. Centres, Crichton, Cherry, Kiraz, Skelton, Semrani, potentially in development, Perham, and Hoffman can all play there as well. Scrolling through again, I did miss some. So we have our hookers, Reed Marnie. Now, Jake Turpin, they continue to say he is coming to the Bulldogs. He's signed. That's coming through the Fox Sports masthead, the News Corp people. So we've got Marnie, Turpin, our utilities who can play hooker as well. Mann, Biondi-Odo, Blake Taff, Drew Hutchinson. Our halfbacks, Toby Sexton, Blake Taff, Bailey Biondi-Odo, Joey O'Neill in development. 5'8", Matt Burton, Jamin Salmon, Drew Hutchinson, who can also play halfback as well. Kurt Mann, who can play halfback. Carlo Lawapu, probably play halfback. And Khaled Rajet, who I think is on development as well. Fullbacks, I've got Taff listed as our number one option, although that won't be it won't happen that way. Crichton, Wilson, Perham, and Kiraz. And then back to our wingers. I think we need to get another big prop in there. I think that is a requirement. So if you've currently got, I haven't listed Jackson Torpene or Raymond Fatala-Mariner. Torpene goes under the second row. Depth. So right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edge back rowers. I think we need to get one more big bopper in there in the top 30, on top of having Booth and Todd in development. All right, so yeah, I'm hoping there's a Saifidi or somebody. There was also the other guy, Fasul Masili, the Roosters and Dolphins player. So he's a big boy. So one that could be coming to the club as well. And who knows, one of these young kids might just develop amazingly, be currently developing amazingly. Who knows, maybe Stephen Crichton, he can play 5'8", he can play fullback, centre, wing. Maybe he can play prop as well. Just a joke. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe Bronson Cherry, he looks so big, he could probably play prop. But yeah, I am joking. Okay, we don't need to talk about that, just a joke. So let's have a look at Josh Curran. I'm very, very happy about this. So Joshy Curran, it's reported he's inked a long-term deal with the Dogs. Curran had a difficult 23 season. I wouldn't call it difficult. It was revealed in recent times that he had been given permission to negotiate his future away from the Warriors. The club had a resoundingly successful 23 campaign, of which Curran predominantly played a bench role, falling behind in the pecking order for minutes in the middle or on the edge. It was a drastic fall for a forward who was once touted as being on the fringes of Brad Fittler's New South Wales State of Origin side. I would suggest that the guys from Zero Tackle are probably commenting on this, and that's what they're saying. I don't agree. It's understood the Warriors gave permission to negotiate in an effort to hand some youngsters more playing time and also clean up the club's salary cap. Instead of playing for the Warriors again next year, News Corp are reporting that Curran will make a return to Sydney. He is a Marylands junior, where he'll line up for the Canterbury Bulldogs. It comes to the Dogs already having signed Crichton, Cherry, Taff officially, and Jamin Salmon. They're also looking at Takiaho being closely linked to the club. News Corp are also reporting Hutchinson, Kurt Mann, and Jake Turpin as well. So there's plenty of money there. Luke Thompson, Tavita Pangai Jr. leaving the team. And they're saying Curran will likely battle for a spot in the second row where he would join ex-Panther Viliami Kikau, while Takiaho would be a market leader to take over Thompson's spot in the middle third. Curran's played 61 NRL games, with 60 of those coming for the Warriors after he switched to the club in 2019, following a debut with the Sydney Roosters in the same year. He's also a 3-time Indigenous All-Stars player and debuted for the Prime Minister's 13 against Papua New Guinea last year. He played with Joe Gavarillo. So there you go. Josh Curran. I think Josh Curran is a very, very good player. And look, last year I think he had a couple of injuries, started a little bit slow, and when he did play, though, and he came on, whether it was for 25 minutes, played a lot of games where he played between 25 and 35 minutes, but he had impact when he played. He was doing a job. And he didn't look frustrated. He was there, whether it was diving on loose balls, whether it was trying to put on big hits, whether it was chasing kicks through, whether it was, just competing every play. That's what Josh Curran is. And then there was games where he was required to play 80 minutes, and he did it without a problem. So for a player that's playing off the bench all year, then when asked to play 80 minutes, he played it and tackled his heart out. He's not a player who's going to run the ball 18 times. But if that's what the team says and needs him to do, he'll do it. He'll be on that edge doing 4 or 5 runs per half. He'll make about between 5 and 10 decoy runs. He'll back up if there's a break. He'll be there to clean up. He'll give away a penalty if he's got to give away a penalty to slow it down. He'll do whatever the team needs. I really like Josh Curran. and I'm glad he's come to the Bulldogs. And I just hope that it's true, and that he doesn't get injuries and all that sort of stuff. But it does give us more size, even though he is not a prop who's going to hold it up in the middle. He can come on and play in the middle. He runs hard. He gets some post contact. He gets quick play of the balls. He can offload. He can, link up when required. He is a very good player. And, the big long hair, and he's just a wild man. The Dogs fans are going to love it. Okay. So Corey Waddell's on his way. He's gone to Manly. Just a nice segue into Corey Waddell. Josh Curran's coming in. I'd say Curran's on double what Waddell was on, and I think he's worth every cent. Corey Waddell, want to thank him for his service. Not that he'll hear this, but I thought last year was his best year he'd had for us. He did give it his all. He did give away penalties. I felt the 5-week suspension he got for that supposed eye gouge on Tino was ridiculous. And, Corey, you'll find that when Corey Waddell pretty much played in every win that we had, bar one over the last couple of years, and was a major contributor. He did, like, he would do a high tackle when we didn't need him to do it, and he would get crunched and knock the ball on, trying to do something. But he had some really good games. That game against the Drags, we put the kick through and scored, was fantastic. And there was just some really good efforts from Corey, and people who say that good riddance to him. He was only on 220 grand a season. I felt that he gave his all for the Dogs, and while it didn't always work out, and while it was frustrating at times, this year I felt he contributed as good as anyone in the club. So thanks for your service, Corey, and I think you'll do well at Manly. So, and hopefully not very well at all. Hopefully you lose more games than you lost with the Bulldogs. So I hate Manly. I do. I think I hate every club, but can't bar us. All right, let's move on. Jacob Kiraz extends to 2027 as well. Blake Wilson is extended for a couple of years. Well done to those two players that I expect to play a lot of wing. I think Wilson's got a future at fullback. And he plays with that tempo, with that speed. And we've got to see, can he pass? Will he take the opportunities when they come his way? He's a competitor. He competes for things. He put on some good hits as well. I think he's a very good talent, Blake Wilson. And, knew a couple of people who were very felt that he was going to be promising for us, and they were 100% right. Not right about everything, but they were right about that. I'll tell you that much. So I'm glad the club's signed him, and hopefully he'll be part of our future for ongoing, and becomes a successful footballer on our side. But we need to look at this next issue. It's not one I'm happy about at all. So let's look at it. Josh Addo-Carr. So today, yet again, the Sydney Morning Herald, which was a combination of 3 writers, put out a big article saying that Josh Addo-Carr is wanted by the Parramatta Eels. And they mentioned that the Eels need some strike out wide, and are interested in getting Josh Addo-Carr's services if they can find a player to get rid of. Now, then they go on and mention everything else that's been said. It's been a relentless campaign on Josh Addo-Carr, and what scares me a little bit is the lack of talk coming from Gus Gould on this matter, or anyone from the club, which doesn't make me feel good. Josh Addo-Carr has done well with a business. As I said, more highlights than the rest of the team combined over the last 5 years. He's an absolute winner. And for people saying that, someone said today that he's done nothing for Canterbury. And I'm like, really? He was better at the Storm. Well, of course he scored more tries at the Storm. He got more opportunities to score. And he didn't have to do as many rucks off his own line. He didn't have to do as many tough runs either. It's a much easier time at the Storm. You just got to look at him. He's fit. He's professional the way he goes about getting his body right for the games. I think there are some things that are not talked about off the field. I do think there are struggles there. Just little things that I've heard, but I don't think they really impact they don't impact him or the teammates in regards to what he's got to do. But I think there are some things he has to sort out. But that's all I'll say about that. I don't profess to know. I've just heard some things, what people say. People make things up as well. Hearsay. But I don't want him to go. I think, and as much respect as I have for Phil Gould and the board and John Curry and everyone there, Peter Mortimer, we've got that beautiful bottle of wine by my brother. Being a Wagga boy, they used to play together at rugby league together, my brother. Played for PCYC, Police Citizens Boys Club, PCBC it was called. The Police Citizens Boys Club it was called back then. And they played rugby league together as kids. So, look, and he's on our current board and, scored in grand finals. Very, very good player. Very classy player. Very safe player. And he's, again, with Canterbury and a successful businessman. And all these people, they have to ratify the decisions that happen. Now, if there's a decision that happens that says Josh Addo-Carr goes to Parramatta and we get Ryan Matheson, look, I'm going to put this into perspective in a moment and hopefully hose all this down. But I'm nervous about it, and that's not good. And I hope those nerves are unfounded. Josh Addo-Carr, as I said, the stuff he does off the field, the engagement he has with fans and with the kids, he's put bums on seats. He has contributed to a growing membership. It all started with Josh, in my opinion. And with this kid, with this guy, 28 years of age, still very, very fast, still with a lot of ability. The things they've talked about, like suddenly there's people are still in the club, even though Gus Gould said everything's fine. Everything's fine. We've told Josh we want him to be a leader. He's made a couple of mistakes. He'll learn from it. But the way that they keep talking about these things, he threw a punch at a bloke, didn't hurt him. The fella that he hit got then hit by one of Josh's teammates. Up prop forward, Josh is a winger. All right, put that into perspective. As fans, we understand that this is a violent sport. It's legal violence. If you do this stuff off the field, you go to jail, right? We don't care about a brawl. Most people want to see it, right? And all this stuff about, it's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to play footy. I didn't play rugby league every weekend because I didn't want to have that contact. I didn't like it, right? I played other sports, a heap of other sports. I only played a little bit of league. Love the game, though. Worship the game. Worship Canterbury. I'm a couch coach. I don't know much at all. I just know what I've learnt and see, and it's not always right. But one thing about Canterbury is that we're used to being successful, and we haven't been for a long time. And here's a player who has brought excitement to a team that couldn't score more than one or two tries. He would score 2 or 3 in games. And he's had injuries last year. It wasn't the easiest year. And he's only on $500,000. And when I say only, he's worth every cent. Like, there's no situation when we just go out and they say they bought Josh Curran. What's Ryan Madison going to do for us? Ryan Madison, who said he'd rather take the suspension than pay the fine. What? Who got picked by Freddie because Freddie liked him, thought he was a good player, missed 2 or 3 tackles that led to tries, then got dropped from the Origin after that and doesn't look like he'll ever play again. Did his chance in that game. Shouldn't have been picked. I don't think he was ready. He was playing all right till then too, but let him get to that next level before you go pick him in Origin. But he's on the nose with supporters. I don't think there's more than 1% of the supporter base that would be excited about him coming to the club. But if he does come to the club and puts on a jersey, I'm gonna worship him like everyone else because that's my job. But prior to him getting here, no, we don't want him. We don't want Ryan Madison. We had his brother, Dean. He's gone to Manly and got a debut there and did pretty well actually. But and Ryan's probably got more talent. But I just don't see him as being the answer to what we need at all. Yes, we need forwards, but he's not the type of forward we need after we just, if they didn't sign Josh Curran and they got Ryan Madison, I could understand that. But there's no salary cap pressure. None. Absolutely none. I'll tell you something though. You want to know the reason why they mentioned Ryan Madison and Parramatta chasing him? Part 1. It's the same reason why they said that Brad Arthur might be coming to coach the Dogs before Serrato came. It's going to get clicks. They're our biggest rival, going back a long time for that core bunch of, 40 to 65, 70-year-old fans who just bleed blue and white and were part of that Warren Ryan era. And the clicks that generates. Parramatta fans would probably be more excited to get the Fox and lose Ryan Madison, that they would be happier with. They'd be happy with that. I'm sure they would. I haven't been on their pages, so I can't ratify what I said. But I don't even know if that's the word. Back up what I said. If Ryan Madison comes to Canterbury, I'll tell you what. With Crichton going to fullback, most of the fan base isn't happy about that. A lot of people accept it and want it to work. They're going to back the club regardless, but there's people who are dead set against it. And I'm against it, but if they do it, I support it. That's my job. But I can have my opinion prior to things happening as well, as a lot of people do. There's just some of these decisions. Jake Averillo leaving the club. A lot of people accept that now. I'm slowly getting there. But you've got these decisions are going to really impact our rebuild, I think. If Ryan Madison was to come to Canterbury and the Fox goes, and we don't, get another 4 or 5 wins on top of what we did this year, I think they're going to be in trouble. Even though I expect us to probably only win 8 to 9 to 10 games next year as well. Honestly believe that. Like, it's sad, but that's what I'm sort of conditioned to think at the moment. For the rebuild to progress and to go where it needs to go, the people in control now who have done a good job off the field commercially, doing well with our pathways and getting those structures in place. Got 7 wins last year, which was a bit of a lift. We had some hope. We had hope halfway through the season this year. Still had hope for finals, which we hadn't had for a long time. Disappointed when it all fell away. Then all the stories have come in about Canterbury, all the negative stories, one after the other. Okay, it's very familiar. It's reporting. It's build us up, then tear us down. And right now they're trying to tear at our fabric, because you know why? Because all of the groups are going to report all this stuff. All the people, all the fans are going to click on the articles. They're all going to talk about it. The rehashing of everything that's been said for the previous 5 weeks gets repeated every time. And the advertisers get shown that the products that they're advertising to sell have had this many views on these articles. So when they line up a Parramatta player that everyone thinks dogged his team, all right, and he's overrated, and I feel sorry for him. And there's no disrespect. I suppose it is disrespectful. I don't know, but I just don't rate him as highly as probably his salary, or it doesn't mean he's not a good player. But yeah, no Canterbury fans happy about it. So of course they're going to click on it, and I'm talking about it now. We're all talking about it. Keeps it in the atmosphere, which means they can keep selling it. So yeah, they know if they sing a certain tune, we're all going to open our ears and listen to it. So that's where I think there's a lot of bullshit there. I think the Foxtel journos have added in the Ryan Madison thing just because they know it will infuriate people, it will outrage people, and you get reactions like you've got from me. Very unhappy about it. But then with this constant stuff on Josh Addo-Carr, if the team doesn't progress, if we make decisions like that and then don't progress, it's going to put our rebuild in jeopardy. And that's what scares me the most. So they need to think about it. They need to look at things like that. Honestly, there's 5 or 6 players in the team that aren't probably going to be in the team come the end of next year. Why? Why not move them on? Free up cash that way. I just don't get it. I hope it's all bullshit, but I just don't get it. Look, so they'd like to have him and Mike Acevo. Look, they've got some really good young outside backs, Parramatta. And to have Mike Acevo and Josh Addo-Carr as your 2 wingers, it doesn't make sense. Unless Canterbury are paying half that salary, it does not make sense. There's no reason why they would release Ryan Madison. I know they've got Hopgood coming through and going to upgrade him, and they've just extended Madison. But they lost Papali'i last year as well. They lost Marnie. So there was some big money that they lost. Players and big money. I think they've had to upgrade Hopgood already. I think he was only on 150 last year and already earned himself good money. They're probably going to upgrade Warren McGregor if they haven't already. Like, they need forwards. They've let go of Nathan Brown. They need forwards. Ryan Madison is a part of their side, and they need him to play. They lost the other guy to the Warriors as well, who plays on the edge. So they've lost some big players. To lose Ryan Madison as well and to get Josh Addo-Carr, well, I'm sure their fans would love to have the excitement of the Fox on the wing, linking up with Mitch Moses and the like. Surely Mike Acevo is on pretty good money. How could you have 2 wingers on so much money? I just don't get it. Don't see it. But anyway, that's that. So there you go. We've pretty much talked about everything. We do have the Australian lineups. So you've got Tedesco and Nickel Clodstad. Look, the Australian team, they've left out Tino and Payne Huss. They've given them a rest. Nico Hines comes onto the bench. I think they've brought in Valentine Holmes and dropped Selwyn Cobbo. And to start, they've brought in Jake T. And they've got, what's his name? The big fella comes on to Flegler. Flegler starts for Australia. So, look, I think New Zealand, who have pretty much kept the same side, their front row is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. They've got Moses Leota, James Fisher-Harris, Kieran Foran starting at hooker, New Brown's on the bench, Thompson on the bench, Nelson Asafa-Solomona on the bench. Big boys, big boys on the bench. Britt Nakora, Joseph Tapine. They're a very tough team. And Isaiah Papali'i, that's some forward pack. And their backline's not too bloody shoddy either. You know, with the difference between the two sides is Australia's got all these players out of position. You know, we've got 3 locks in our team. We've got 3 fullbacks in the back line, 3 or 4. And whereas every player pretty much, except for Kieran Foran, who's playing hooker, he may not start. They may start New Brown and bring Kieran on later. But they've just got both those players have halfback ability, and playmaking ability. So to me, they've got every player in their side is playing the position that they normally play on the weekend. Okay? Whereas Australia have got people playing all over the shop. Obviously very versatile, a lot of X factor about the Australian players, a lot of speed, a lot of skill, a lot of work ethic. The work ethic in Isaiah Yeo, Cameron Murray, Patrick Carrigan. The work ethic even in Daly Cherry Evans. Cameron Munster, he does work hard. The work ethic in those players. Dylan Edwards and James Tedesco. Just work ethic. But the Kiwis have got that as well. It's going to be a great game. I think the Kiwis have the edge. Without Tino and Huss, Australia lose a lot, in my opinion. This will be a big test for Tom Flegler, who wants to become the next enforcer in the game. Was never going to leave the Broncos unless it was to the Dolphins to join Uncle Wayne again. You know, just a player out of reach for us, just like Huss and Tino. Never in reach. Never in reach, as much as people talked it up. And, yeah, it's a bit disappointing, but they managed to get themselves huge deals with their existing clubs. That's how most of it played out. Spencer Leniu was the biggest opportunity for us to get a really classy, high-impact front rower. And the Roosters beat us to the punch. So we're hoping, you know, we've got to try and see if we can give Takiaho an opportunity and get something out of him, the Tonga captain. We've got to see if we can get a Lander Saifidi brother. So bringing some players like Josh Curran in and some of these really good, hard-working type players with great attitudes on the field is only going to help benefit us to make some more better signings. You know, you have to continually improve the squad, and that's Phil Gould is going to make some small mistakes with it, but they're going to slowly improve that squad with better quality footballers until we get the big fish. Hopefully there's another big fish there. I consider Josh Curran a pretty big fish. Named him as one of the priorities for 2025. Being released from his contract early to join us in 2024. Couldn't have thought of a better thing in regards to Josh Curran. But we still need a Saifidi. We need a Terrell May, an up-and-coming prop that showed he can play at that semi-final level. We need someone like that. And unless we get someone like that, it's going to be difficult for us to continue to progress. So I'm tipping the New Zealand side to beat Australia this week. I think in the final, though, it'll be a very closely fought contest. It could go either way, but who knows? Australia might blow them off the park. They are. It's just screams this is going to be a good game. They've put Ruben Cotter on the edge. Now, he's more of a middle player, but he did a great job for Queensland when he was forced to move to the edge. So he can do anything, that guy. Another determined workhorse. But he's going to have his work cut out for him and Cam Murray. They're going to have some big boppers run at them all day. And the last thing, Stephen Crichton for Samoa, 5'8". Now, I won't put it as bluntly as one of my good mates, Pete. But, look, I didn't expect Critter to play to influence Samoa to defeat Australia or to defeat New Zealand. I thought they'd go better against New Zealand than they did with that run under the belt. Like they did in the World Cup. They struggled in the first game, but then really progressed. If it was a longer series, they'd probably do better, but their spine's just too young and inexperienced. And it was just, Stephen Crichton was completely, it was just disappointing. Now, I'm not going to put it, it's not his fault that it's not that his fault his team lost. I didn't have those expectations on him. It's the effort areas. What I expected from him in that team was to say, give me the football and to run, to get the ball, to crab sideways if possible, make an offload, take a hit up for his team when they were struggling in periods in the match, when his big forwards were tired. You know, it was left all to certain players in the team. He could have helped with a nice run because he can do that. I'm not having a crack at him about putting two out in the full, stuff like that. He doesn't kick all the time. Sometimes he kicks, as an opportunity, but not for set plays and repeat sets and all that sort of stuff over and over. I'm sure he's got it in his repertoire, but he's not doing that week in, week out. I'm sure through the captain's runs and all that, that's what he was doing. He's trying to be a playmaker, but there's too many times where he's standing with his hands on his hips where he wasn't involved in the play at all. And there was a couple of moments where he got involved, or he was, in the position he was supposed to be in the line and got the ball and threw a pass and some good stuff happened. But I felt he tried hard in defence, and he had a fair bit of defence to do, which takes it out here. Like, there's all these excuses I can make for him. But the one excuse I can't make for him is his lack of involvement and his lack of demand on the football. An $850,000 player is about to go to the fullback for Canterbury, gets to play in a spine position for his country, and to represent his ancestors and all that sort of stuff. I think he's a proud Australian as well as a proud Samoan, and a good person, good with the kids. Another one that's going to do the work off the field as well. But for him, in those games, to really not have any say or bearing on those games at all by getting involved was the issue I had. And to me, there must have been an injury or something. Must have been going through the motions. I don't know what it was. Whether it was stage fright. It's a cause for concern. And I know as a fullback, he's going to go out there and win or lose, probably make 200 metres, run it on the fourth, run it on the kick return, take a second hit up as well if the winger catches it, get down there and pass the ball. But the areas of the game which I think he will struggle in is creating overlaps at the line in attacking opportunity. I'm not sure it's going to be smooth. I'm not sure if he's going to be there when a break is made. Whether he's going to be cutting through the middle and running off kick out. If he's going to be cutting through and running off Preston. Playing both sides of the field. And then be in position to make defensive, last-ditch defensive plays to save tries. That's the sort of stuff that I'm worried about as a fullback. And I don't know if that's something that he can develop in 1 year, let alone in 2 or 3 years, let alone 1 year or half a season or whatever it is. So if they make that decision, it could come back to bite them. That's what I'm saying. I think Blake Taft's a ready-made fullback. I think he goes in there. He's on the ball. He can throw the good ball as well. He can wait for the defence before he makes his decisions. He can wait for the defence to react. And he's got the speed to do it. And, he competes. He will make a mistake, compete for the ball. He will get barged over a few times when trying to stop a try. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but I just think as far as a fullback goes, he's a type of player that Canterbury fans, from what I've seen and heard from all their comments, he's the type of fullback which we warm to. I'm just not sure Critters, from what I'm seeing. I know he's playing 5'8" and it wasn't fullback, but it was a playmaking role and he didn't really involve himself enough. People can say what they want about Matt Burton and some of these other 5'8s with high profiles that don't always get the job done. They still get their hands on the football. They still run the ball. They still do a lot of the kicking, and they still create plays even when they're having a bad game. So yeah, Critter, very disappointed. Hopefully, he has a really good off season and whatever they go with works. Getting excited now. It's we've been waiting so long. We just want to do better. Anyway, guys, that's the podcast here. It's a question that was asked on the channel regarding my thoughts on Mick Potter. Is it a demotion? I think for the club, it's a movement. He's moved from the assistant first grade role, which has now gone to Jason Taylor, which is interesting enough, and I'll explain why, to the head coach of the New South Wales Cup team. I think for the club, it's a good move. And I'll tell you what, I think Mick Potter is better for our club as a head coach of any team in our system, whether it's first grade, reserve grade, Jersey Flag, whoever it is. We're a better club with Mick Potter as a head coach rather than an assistant. And the reason I say that is because I think it comes down with the expectations that he sets. And when you're the head coach, you get to sort of do that in its proper way. Like you go the whole hog with it. I believe he was really good at finding players and unearthing their potential, getting them to believe in their ability, taking away excuses. I saw that all come through when he took over as head coach from Barrett. Getting players to play rugby league to their ability to think about, all the things that they probably can do at practice when they're home by themselves, all the things they imagine they can do, the things they've done against when they were coming through as children and as kids. Then they get into first grade and they just go out there and they sort of do their job. They don't throw the ball even though they could have thrown it. And it would have been safe and it would have led to us advancing our position on the field. All this sort of stuff. There's way too much fear in our team and our club prior to his arrival as the head coach. Now, he had the advantage that the team in 2022 didn't have to, they didn't believe they were going to play finals, so they lost that weight off their shoulders. They played in a different third of the field, and it was forced upon them, but he went with that more mobile forward pack, brought players in that play with energy, brought Curtis Moran into the side. players such as Harrison Edwards, and he put Jake Averillo to fullback. Now, all these little subtle movements, he brought in Zach Docker-Clay, which was completely left of field. No one saw that coming from the fan base. So, he'd come to the club. He's been a journeyman playing New South Wales Cup for many years, 28 years old or something, 29. And he's getting his first grade debut off the bench for the Bulldogs. And Mick Potters made that call. And all these players having that belief that they can be first graders, that they do belong, come in and made a difference. And I think they affected other players in the team. Leaders within the team leveraged off that and did really, really well. And as I said a lot of the time, what did Mick Potter do differently? He released the shackles. He got them to believe that, if it's there to have a shot, take the shot. Don't think about, the consequences. The consequences are that we lose. The reward is that we win. You're playing for big stakes. You got to do it. And I just think as an assistant coach, while I saw his DNA all over some of the mentality stuff, I still believe they felt they were able to fail in games. The coach used to rate their performance and what he could see them trying to execute as well. And that's something that people don't sort of get about coaches, is that they might be absolutely angry inside that the execution was disgusting. And if they just executed 2 or 3 movements properly and went with that he can see what would have happened and where the light would have been at the end of the tunnel. The try would have been scored, or the try would have been prevented, for example. Attack and defence, And then when you see a player who starts going against what they've talked about and what they'd all agreed that they were going to do, it become very hard as a first-year rookie. I think having Mick Potter there would have been helpful for Cameron Ciraldo in many ways. And I believe that Mick Potter's DNA was all over our attack and the mentality behind it was there. It's like you want the team to keep firing shots. If you fire and miss, have another shot. But if you're not going to look down the target, look down the barrel and line it up, well, you're going to keep missing, aren't you? And I just felt the team squandered so many opportunities where they kept firing shots, but they didn't earn the right to fire. And that's what it was more about, the failings this year. And let's be honest, the platform was barely laid and barely visible because of the lack of experienced personnel in the middle, which we all knew was an issue prior to the start of the season and is an issue prior to the start of 2024, unless we can get some more signings in. But Mick Potter moving to the reserve grade coach. So Jason Taylor, he unseated Mick Potter from the West Tigers full-time coaching role. And no West Tigers coaches had to side up as high on the ladder as what Mick Potter had that team when they had their full complement of players available. And, he was doing quite well. They got a few injuries, started to lose some games. Things started to turn to shit, and he got the sack. Unbelievable. And it sort of cruelled him a lot. He basically never thought he'd get to coach a first-grade squad again and didn't know if he wanted to. He just wanted to help Canterbury out. I think once he got a taste for it, saw that he was quite successful, the fans completely trusted him. He earned our trust real quick. People knew he was going to be successful as a coach for us when they picked him. Fans were happy across the board, pretty much. Our defence didn't really improve. In fact, it regressed by about 1 point a game under Mick Potter. But the attack went up by 12 or 13 points per game. So it was a 12-point, 2 converted try positive when he came into the side. But as I said, he had that freedom. The players had the freedom of nothing to lose, essentially. So Look, I think him going back to a reserve grade coach enables him to have that control. And by that, I mean, obviously, he gets to formulate the plans on game day. He gets to report up and down. He'll be working, obviously, closely with Serrato and with the under-21s coach. And basically having a big say in who's ready and who's not. And I think one of the key factors is that the players will know where they stand with Mick Potter. And I think he will be a leader amongst those kids, and he will help turn them into men ready to play in first grade. And no one's going to get a free ride. So that's what we saw, like he was happy to move Dufty to reserve grade, straight up. Give him a week or two, didn't work, see you later. Put Averillo to fullback. From the very moment Averillo went to fullback, the very first play of the game, he saw an opportunity and he attacked. That's something we hadn't seen and got used to. And I thought his first game was quite good. And then we saw what happened. His just involvements in key moments were fantastic. And, what did we win? 5 out of 11 under Mick Potter on the run home. And I think it was 5 out of 10 where Jake was at the fullback. So I think it was like 4 of the first 6 that we had won, and then 1 of the last 5, something like that. Mick Potter, as I said, the expectations that those kids are going to be set up with is going to help a lot with their development and their pathway to first grade. Now, Serrato obviously have a lot to do with, he'll have demands as well, and he probably gets the final say on all of it. But the point I'm making is that Serrato obviously trusts Mick Potter a lot. Mick knows what Cameron wants. Cameron knows what Mick wants. Cameron knows what Mick will give him as an as a reserve grade head coach. And I think it's just going to give more confidence as to the quality of player when they come through playing from reserve grade into first grade. And I think it'll also see the reserve grade side play and first grade play a very similar style. The styles did align a lot more, I noticed last year. So from flag through to reserve grade through to first grade, the style of game they were trying to play was very, very similar across the board. And funnily enough, the teams that had much better quality of player, whereas our Jersey flag team was stacked with talent, and it won the comp, playing a style that wins matches. Reserve grade side, even with all the changes and Jersey flag had those changes as well, they were the best defensive side for the first 16 or 17 rounds. Fell off a cliff. We all know why. Issues with one of the best clubmen in the team. Things went pear-shaped when he went missing, pretty much. Because when he played, they never used to lose that way in the reserve grade team. Okay? In the first grade team, when he played, we got flogged a lot. But his influence at that level, on that team, was huge. And they completely missed him when he went missing. So, look, I just think we're going to see even more synchronism, or what's the word? The teams are going to play an even closer style from first grade through to the younger grades, all the way along. We're going to see that blueprint develop and be very similar. As I said, it was very much on that pathway this year, but I think it's going to evolve even more to be very similar across the board. And Mick Potter's appointment there gives Cameron Serrato that trust. It's going to give those players no resolutions. There'll be no surprises about what they need to do to get picked and get selected. And if they're not doing what's supposed to be done, they won't be there. Simple as that. And Mick Potters probably the best sort of a voice to have in that area, where he's going to grow and develop these kids and develop these players, and under no illusions at all as to what the expectations are. And he's the type of person who can get that done. And I think that's what they need. I felt the Tangata Toa did a really good job with the reserve grade side. They made the grand final the year before, coming from 5th, and they were clearly the best side in the comp for most of the season until it went off and went pear-shaped. So I think Mick's got a bit of work to do because he did a good job with those guys. But I think as far as the club goes and having the transition from first grade, from reserve grade to first grade, and vice versa, having players drop back to reserve grade, that it's not going to be a huge change for them going from first grade to reserve grade under Mick Potter, because Mick's been the assistant with Cam. So they both know each other really, really well and what they want. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on Mick Potter moving to the reserve grade coach. I think it's good for the club. I think him as a head coach in any capacity with our club is a good thing. And who knows, he may end up as a head coach of Canterbury in the future. You never know. Hopefully, though, Cameron Ciraldo becomes the next Craig Bellamy at the Bulldogs. That's what we want. That's what we need. And hopefully he makes Gus look like a genius. That's all we want. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening in, and that's my thoughts.